What are those things that drive you every single day? And it needs to be brief. Don't make a long purpose statement. Are you the one constantly giving and giving advice, giving energy into the relationship, and you're drained when you walk away? Giving energy, or am I taking energy? Do I feel drained after the conversation or the interaction? Or do I feel challenged and energized? True leadership is cultivated by daily, consistent actions. We're not after perfection, we're after progress. Hey everyone, John here. Welcome to the episode today. When the going gets tough, do you stick around or do you get going? We all know that one person that no matter how hard the challenge seems to be, they are unshakable. They're rock solid. They're the rock. I tend to call those people in my life. My grandmother was one. It seemed like no matter what, she could figure it out. And if you've experienced those situations and you wonder, what do they have that I don't have? Today, we're going to talk about 3 things that you can get. These are achievable things. We're going to talk about how you're going to anchor yourself in purpose and then master the art of the response, not a reaction. And then last but not least, we're going to build that support framework, which has proven to be just instrumental in a lot of the things that I've done in my leadership journey. So let's get into the content for today. This first one, anchor yourself in purpose. And the notes that I was taking today as I was journaling, I'm reading a book. It's called Meditations, Marcus Aurelius. And a lot of what is in there are just his memoirs and insights. It doesn't really follow a story, but I took away some things from my readings this morning, and I wanted to share them with you. And they're things that I've seen in leaders, in business owners that I've worked with. And one of the things that differentiates like a business from a company or something that's been in really existence for more than a year or two is this anchoring themselves in the purpose of what they do day in, day out. And that's what we're going to talk about, is how important clarity is. And you've heard me talk about this whenever we talk about casting a vision, making sure people know where you're going so that way they can follow, and make sure you have that moonshot vision so they can see themselves developing within your business and within your company. One of the reasons that people leave companies is career development. They don't see any growth within the current job that they're in, and they will leave. They'll start looking elsewhere. So for this one, it's important that we are clear around our leadership purpose. And for us to be clear on our purpose, that allows external, those people who are looking to us for solutions or advice during those challenging times, it's important that we don't sugarcoat it. I found early on in my leadership career, I wanted to make everybody happy. And I thought that by doing that, one of the ways that I was doing that was no matter how hard the challenge, or maybe it was a financial issue, or I had to figure out, how to make payroll that month, I had to take that all on myself. And so the stress was there. The anxiety was there for me as a business owner. It was outwardly being expressed. People knew, my wife, my family, the company, my employees, the team, and they would ask me, "Hey, John, is everything okay?" And I'd say, "Oh yeah, everything's going to be fine." And it wasn't going to be fine. It's very easy for us to just put on this fake persona, this facade that everything's going to be okay whenever we're worried about where that next sale's going to be and if it's going to be enough to cover expenses for that month. So don't sugarcoat it. That's one of the very first things that I want us to realize as we're talking about some of the applications here, because again, this is an active listening podcast. I want you all to get out your journals, get out your piece of paper, take notes in your phone. It's what I do. But just 1 or 2 of these applications, because the challenge is, as always, apply one of these. Apply one of these applications in these 3 areas that we're going to talk about today, and just see how they impact your business. Because you may be in a situation where times are tough. It's not going very well. You're going to have to look or pivot in order for the company to stay alive. Maybe you're in a situation where You just had your best employee leave. And now you're trying to pick up the pieces through lack of just corporate knowledge or some of the things that they just knew how to do. So for this one, it's important for us to focus on our purpose statement. And this is one of those activities that I initially start with every single client if you don't already have one. And I would highly recommend, if you do not have a purpose statement, if you don't have a leadership philosophy written down and documented somewhere, and I'm not just up here in your head, write it down and document it. What is your purpose statement? What are those things that drive you every single day? And it needs to be brief. Don't make a long purpose statement. I don't want a whole paragraph. I want something that's repeatable, those bite-sized sound bites for you to be able to repeat that, because you will write it. I want it written down. I highly recommend you write it down because we're going to review it. You're going to review it. When times get tough, remember your purpose. It goes back to remember your why. Why are you doing this? Why did you start the business in the first place? It was a service, or maybe it was something to hand down to you were starting a generational type business, or maybe you're following in the footsteps of somebody who's handed you down a business. Whatever that looks like, you need to write it down. And this is tactical that you need to focus in on once you got that purpose statement is alignment. Are the operations, is your marketing, is everything from your reward. Remember, culture, is your culture aligned with that purpose statement? Culture is what we celebrate and what we tolerate. So those things that we celebrate, are they in line with that purpose? Those things that we tolerate, are they in line with that purpose? If not, we got to get rid of those things. So for here, anchor in your purpose statement. Get very, very clear about what your purpose is. That's going to be your foundation going through these tough times, as I mentioned. The second one we're going to talk about is mastering a response, not a reaction. How many times do we get in an argument with a significant other, or somebody just hits one of those points, one of those things that maybe sets us off, and we say something that's emotionally charged, or we use profanity, or we criticize them, and then later on we're like, that wasn't right. You're sorrowful. So here, how do we prevent that? And we've all been there and done that. I'm not perfect. Trust me. I get into situations and I try every single day to practice patience to where I don't automatically react to a situation. Instead, I'm thoughtful about that. That's what the point of this this topic is. Don't always say the first thing that comes to your mind. The things that pop into my mind when I hear something, I tell you what, I wouldn't say them. If you don't say them to other people, don't say them to yourself. And so that piece, we're just natural reactors. Like when something comes at us, it's our natural reaction to fight or flight. And sometimes it's to run away, to flight, or sometimes it's to stand up and say, how dare you? When that may not be what you need to say at that moment. That's the reaction. Try it on. I want to take a quick break from the episode today to talk about a couple things. The first thing, less than 40% of our listeners are subscribed to our channel. You would be doing me a huge favor if you click on that subscribe button. It helps us grow our Go Be Great community and get this podcast out to as many people as we possibly can. The second thing, are you a small business owner that is drowning in the day-to-day operations? You're delegating tasks and you're still doing all the work. You're experiencing a high turnover. Maybe you don't have the systems and processes in place that you need to run a successful business. I invite you to go over to bjohnespinosa.com, fill out the form to see if you're the right fit. Now back to the episode. So what are some ways that we can master the art, that you can master the art of how you react to or respond to emotionally charged situations? One, the pause principle. This is something that takes 5 seconds. Count to 5 in your head before you respond to an emotionally charged situation or a challenge or something that somebody says to you that you necessarily don't agree with or hits a nerve. 5 seconds, at least 5 seconds. You can go longer. I've even practiced walking away. If it's gotten real heated, I walk away from the conversation. and I let them know I'm just going to walk away. We can talk about this later and leave it there. It allows me to process. It allows me not to say something that I'm going to regret later. Words mean things. We can't take those back. So it's very important for us to be thoughtful and to pause sometimes before we respond. And the second piece here, what are your emotional triggers? What are those things that strike a nerve that cause you to react? Could be somebody says something about your family. Could be, any one of those things in our lives that we care about. Somebody attacks or we feel like they're attacking that, and we go right into fight mode. We go right into reaction mode, and we begin to say things that we may not mean because of that trigger. So what are your emotional triggers? Identify those. It's an application. Try it on, journal them, or just identify those things that when that trigger occurs, maybe you need to walk away. Maybe it is that big of a trigger where the 5-second pause isn't going to be enough. Remember, we're talking about times that get emotionally charged, when times get tough. Think about that person, the rock. Do they react? Do they spout out right immediately when something happens, or are they reserved and thoughtful and then either say something that they're not going to regret or they walk away from the situation? So that is mastering the art of response, not reaction. And this last one here, building your support framework. We've all heard that you are the sum of the closest 5 people that you take advice from. And that's true. Just think about it. Write down who are your 5 closest friends, acquaintances, mentors. What do they do? How do they act? What are their views religiously, politically, on life? Whatever that looks like, whether you realize it or not, you're a sum of those 5 people. So here, creating this support network is going to be critical whenever you're in a situation and times get tough. Do you surround yourself with people who are complainers? Oh yeah, the economy just sucks. It's because of, whatever it's because of. But you get down into the mud and you start complaining, and it's fueled. You start fueling off of each other. Or are you around people that are going to encourage you and help you work through the situation, no matter how tough? They don't sugarcoat it, remember, but they tell you the truth. They're honest with you. They ask good questions. They're curious. That's what my support network looked like. And I had to get there. It didn't start that way. I have a podcast on auditing relationships. Go check that one out, because it talks about, again, your 5 closest people. So here, the value of a support network is critical for your perspective, for your mindset, how you're going to address these challenges, and how you're going to move on, because this too shall pass. So here, applications, identify who your closest 3 mentors, friends that you take advice from, whoever that looks like, who are the top 3? And then I want you to write down, whenever you're around those 3 people, what's normally the nature of your conversations? Now, I'm not talking about your friends. Everybody has friends. Everybody has that one person, that one friend, maybe your best friend, that you had that bond with them. I'm talking about the people who you take business advice from, leadership advice from. Who are those 3 closest people? Then I want you to have regular check-ins. I got a group, 2 other people that we try to get together once a month for dinner, go play golf, breakfast, and it's one of those just friend groups that we don't complain. We lift each other up. We ask good questions. We're curious. And I walk away. Here's the, I think, indicator of, do you have a good friend group? Do you have a good mentor group, right? Leadership, business mentor group is when you walk away, do they challenge you? Are they level 10s? Or are you the one constantly giving and giving advice, giving energy into the relationship, and you're drained when you walk away? That was one of the indicators that I used whenever I was auditing my relationships. Am I giving energy or am I taking energy? Do I feel drained after the conversation or the interaction, or do I feel challenged and energized? This support network is going to be critical when you get into those situations, to be able to call up, go out, spend some time together, talk through the situation. You are the sum of those 3 people that you take advice from. So that in and of itself is gold. Implement that. Out of all these 3, if you don't implement any one of the other 2 or anything that we've talked about up to this point, find your support network. Start there. So today, one thing that I want to encourage everybody out there is true leadership is cultivated by daily, consistent actions. We're not after perfection. We're after progress. I believe in you. Go be great. Implement at least one of these. And if you like what you've heard, share it with somebody. I would appreciate it. It'd mean a lot to me, and it'd help this channel grow, get it out to as many people as we possibly can. Talk to everyone later. Bye-bye. If you like what you're hearing, do us a favor. Click on that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. That lets us know that what we are putting out benefits you. If you want additional information or resources or learn how to work with me, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com, because when we become better versions of ourselves, it helps us get others to where they're going. Go be great. Talk to everyone later.